Hey everybody, welcome back. Can't wait to get into today's Mindset and Motivation Monday. My personal way to start the week. Love being able to share some of these thoughts and philosophies with you that I've been fortunate enough to learn over the years, sometimes the hard way, and sometimes, if possible, always through a mentor, a coach, or books and different audio that I've been listening to. So one of the things I think about motivation and inspiration in general is that it's not something that you can learn one time and then say, oh, okay, I'm good. Because I've really been studying this now for about 20 years, maybe even a little bit longer. And I've realized that the more that I can begin to dissect it at a deeper level, the more I can understand it, the more I can teach it. So what I mean by that is this, is that I read books 20 plus years ago, and I read about, let's say, the law of attraction or the theory of positivity or the law of frequency and vibration and all these different types of things, right? And so I'm listening to them and I'm listening and I like the sound of it, right? I like the idea of it, but I can't necessarily relate. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. I don't necessarily even know what it means. I just know that, okay, I'm opening my mind to that. This may be possible. And that's where you start. So if that's where you are, totally understand. And that's actually a good place to be, because if you can keep your mind open to all possibilities, you can start to then absorb as much of the information as you can and then begin to allow it to play out in everyday life. Here's what I can share with you though. The more that you can start to study it, the more that you can just put it on repeat, whether it's from one individual or multiple individuals, it starts to sink deeper into the subconscious. So the subconscious really works in two ways. One, it's everything that we've been absorbing as a child before the age of around 8 years old. And the reason that we're absorbing so much before that age is that we don't have the rational mind yet, that capacity to be able to say this is true or untrue. So what we do is we're absorbing everything. We have to take it in at such a quick speed because we only have so long in that young childlike state to learn everything that we need in order to be able to survive in this world. So that's an interesting way to look at it. But then the problem is then after that, it basically, you look at the world and say, does this fit with my worldview? Yes or no? And that's why we go back to this childhood programming of what did I learn before the age of 7 years old or so? And you don't know because you were more in that theta-based state. You weren't necessarily using the same level of brain waves you have today as an adult. The rational mind wasn't there in the same way. And so you look at life sometimes as a very scary thing. And so we have these childhood traumas that we develop that many of us don't even know we have until we begin to explore it. So how do you overcome all of that subconscious programming? It's really two ways, right? It's repetition, which is why I'm saying continue to listen to Mindset and Motivation Mondays. Continue to read the books. Continue to just do the work overall, because the only other way to reprogram and rewire the mind is actually through an emotionally charged event, a very emotionally charged event. Hopefully a positive one, but sometimes a negative one as well. So you can have a positive outlook about a specific thing, but if a very negative thing happens, okay, that will shift the subconscious. Now, on the other hand, if you have a very, and it would have to be extremely deep and powerful at an emotional level, some type of transformation, okay, that can transform the subconscious in a moment as well. But for the most time, it's really putting in thousands and thousands of reps with beginning to look at and reframe how we see the world. So that's how I've been able to do it over a period of years. And it doesn't happen all at once. So it's gradual. It's very interesting. Now, the repetition again comes from listening, seeing, visualizing, and then doing as well in your life. So as you're doing this, though, I can share with you that it's often difficult. I find it difficult myself too sometimes, and I've been doing this for quite some time. But the important thing is this, is that we're never going to be able to have the life we want, reach our full potential, and really be at peace, like really enjoy life. But when I say be at peace, I mean like you're good. I say this to people all the time, like, do you know what it means to just be like, yeah, I'm good. Like I'm good. No matter what, I'm good. And they're like, no, I don't really get it. And when they don't get it, it can either be me, like how I'm framing it, how I'm cueing them, but also they're not, like they don't really understand what it means yet to be good. Being good to me is not good, bad in that sense, but like I'm at peace. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm exactly where I should be right now in this moment in life. And it doesn't always mean like everything is fantastic. It just means like, I'm good. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. And if you're not there in both mind and body in the physical reality, then we do need to work on that. And the problem is that so many of us are replaying programs of the past, and we're in a lowered mood because of that. We're kind of hearkening back on all of the mistakes of our past, all of the transgressions that we wished went better, that we wish we did things differently in life. And then we worry about the future. You know, will the future be worse than it is today? Will it be more of the past? And what we miss is when we're living and recalling the past, and then we're worried and anxious about the future, we miss the present moment of now. So what I'd like to do right now is share with you how to stay in the present in every moment. And like most things for this show, this came from a really nice story that I heard, and this was secondhand, and I wish I could give credit where credit's due, but really I am giving credit because it was from a story recalling Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant, most people are familiar with him, but he was one of the best basketball players of all time. A rival of the Boston Celtics with the LA Lakers, and a very competitive individual. So he pushed himself to the very limit to get every last bit out of his potential. And he knew that from such a very young age, like going pro at basically 18 years old or so. But even then he knew, like, I know what my potential is. I'm not there yet. I'm going to push it. He stayed in the gym longer. He showed up earlier. There's many recounts of him practicing at 3, 4 in the morning, working on his jump shot, trying to get better. That was the level of commitment he had for himself and to becoming great and to just reaching his full potential. And so, you know, was he the best basketball player of all time? Most people aren't going to say that he is, but he was up there. Like, he's up there in the conversation. Now, that's not necessarily the topic of today, but what happened was this. It was recalling his greatness and how hard he worked and how present he was with what he was doing in basketball. And someone relayed that in terms of, yes, but even the great Kobe Bryant, how would his life have been different? What would he have done different if he knew that his life would come to an end far too soon, during a very tragic event with one of his daughters as well, and actually a helicopter crash, if I'm recalling correctly. And the story went on, and the person was an excellent storyteller. But they recalled, they said with Kobe and all of his genius, all of his smarts, he ended up going from basketball to being a great investor and helping with charities and his daughter's basketball league and so much more. What if you were to tell Kobe that that was the last time that he was going to see his family, that that was going to be his last morning waking up, that this was going to be the last breakfast he ever had, that this would be the last time he stepped into a helicopter? Now, I don't like to get down at that, deep emotional level because, even though I don't like to show it a lot of times, or and I'm not afraid to, it's just I don't necessarily allow that to pour out because it can be very overwhelming for me as I take these emotions at a very, very deep level. And I think part of that is because I had no idea that I would ever get well again. So you try telling someone at 17 years old that their best years are behind them. That's really difficult. And when you go from doctor to doctor, from 17, 18, 19 years old with no hope, only a terrible prognosis of autoimmune disease, Addison's disease, POTS, all sorts of different issues, right? Type 2 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, et cetera. And you say, yeah, it's only going to get worse. We can give you these medications to help stave off the symptoms, but the prognosis does not look good. So I saw, I think back then, how short life could be, and also how miserable that life can be for someone like me in this position with such a bleak outlook. Now, luckily, I just said, and I gave up many times, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I have superhuman abilities, but for whatever reason, something inside of me said, try this next thing. Try this next thing. And just that stubbornness to say there has to be a better way, that this can't be my destiny. This can't be my life. I feel like I have more to give, that I have more to learn, that I have more to share. And so I think that for me, the thought process of what if this was the last time, can be really overwhelming because it takes me back there. But what I'd like to share with you is this, because we can use some of this to stay more present? What if you are out to a really nice lunch with someone or meeting? You said, what if this was the last time I was meeting with this individual, right? What if this was the last conversation I was having with this person? It would change your frame of reference. I just believe that it would. It would make you more present. It would make you a kinder and gentler human being. You'd want to leave them feeling good about themselves, right? You would want to leave feeling great. You'd want to say, that was a really amazing conversation. One of the best conversations I've ever had. And I think that that will always be the case if we are fully present. The best conversation ever? Maybe, maybe not. One of the best? Sure. When you are present and you're truly listening to that other individual and you're exchanging energy even without words, it is a pretty powerful experience. I'll give you a few more examples, but let's just say you're on a trip, you're traveling. What if this is the last trip that you take? What if this is the last time that you travel? Now, again, don't necessarily think about it in a morbid way. I try not to at all. And I'll give you my tip toward the end as well. But don't think that this is the end for you. Just think well, what if this is the last time that you get to visit whatever it might be, like taking a hike in Colorado, going to Hawaii, traveling to whatever, one of the islands, right? Like anything that you want to think about, hey, what if this is the last time that I'm here? If it's the last time that you're here, you're going to be more, I think, cognizant about how you spend your time and just the moments of trying to enjoy it. Oftentimes I will sit back on the couch, with my daughters, and they'll be, we'll be playing a game, and we like to play board games, different things like that. And I don't say it in a negative way, but I'm like, wow, what if this is the last time we play? Because kids that can lose their interest in this thing, this particular board game. I'll play Mastermind with one of my daughters all the time. I'll play checkers with both of my daughters. And so it's thinking about they're going to be getting older. I'm not saying it's forever, but what if this is it? And so how I'm able to frame this, because again, I look at it as with parents and with siblings, what if this is the last time with them? What if this is my last conversation with them? What if this is our last Christmas, for the holidays? What if this is our last Thanksgiving? What if this is the last sunset I see? And again, it's not meant to be morbid, because I get totally overwhelmed by that. I think strange in that way. I don't think as many people would, but I do. And so what I think about is this: I don't think about it from dying or going anywhere, because I can't do that. That's just kind of too much for me to kind of grasp, whether myself or anyone else won't be here tomorrow, right? So I try not to go there. But what I do is it puts me just in that moment hey, what if this was the last one? And I say it like that. Right? So I don't say it in a morbid way. I say, hey, what if this is the last one? And meaning I'm not going to get to, hopefully, I'm not going to have other experiences in life. But all I do is say it like that. So I say it gently. I'm always about that. I'm be gentle with yourself. Again, you have to be, right? You can't be your own worst enemy. So be gentle with yourself. So I say, I'll walk outside. I walk my dog every night, and I love to do it, when the sun's going down, and I love to do it when the sun's coming up. And I said, wow, this is really amazing. And when you've done it enough now, saying what if this is the last sunset that I see? If you've done it enough, I'm telling you right now, you can eventually get to a place where you're just saying this is amazing. And you can just be at peace with it and take it all in. But until you've practiced, right? Until you put in your repetitions, you can't necessarily get there. And I'm going to try to take this now with me through the holidays. And I know that we've been celebrating some holidays already, and a lot more of my gatherings, and not say it from, again, a negative standpoint, but just wow, this, no matter what, whether this is the last Thanksgiving or whether this is the last Christmas or so that I have with people, I think about this. This is the only 2022 Christmas that I'm going to have with them, right? I don't know what next year will bring. So let me enjoy this year while we have it. Because no matter what, and it's crazy, but there's 12 cousins for my daughters in the family now. There's a lot of what I just call my parents, grandkids, right? There's a lot roaming around everywhere. So, you take the good, you take the bad, you take all the chaos, all of that. But every year they're getting a little older. No matter what, they're not the same age next year. Neither are you. And hopefully you always have your health, and hopefully you always have your hobbies and your careers and your passions, all those things. But we don't necessarily know what next year will bring. So the big thing is, let's always assume that it's going to go great. All right, let's assume it's always going to go great. But in this moment right now, we'll never get this moment back again. And I don't think we can take those things for granted, because we might be working on ourselves really hard. right? But not everybody is. Not always our family is. Not always our friends are. Not always our coworkers, our parents, our grandparents, etc. So what we need to do is just say, listen, like the time I have, I don't know how many moments are left, but the time I have with you, the holidays, the conversations, I'm not going to take them for granted. I'm going to stay present and I'm going to enjoy every moment. Hopefully today's Mindset and Motivation Monday podcast was helpful. I appreciate you so much. Have an amazing day. And as always, do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve.